What is going on, Babylonians? It's me, Songs of Raids, and I'm back with another The Finals video to be able to bring to you, and today we're going to be discussing everything to do with shotguns. Now, this is going to cover the light, this is going to cover the medium, and this is going to cover the heavy class, to be able to discuss what is the best shotgun that's out there, what are the strengths and weaknesses for each one, and should you kind of take them out into the field with you if you are trying to compete at some of the higher levels when it comes to the tournaments. If you do enjoy the video, or if you find it very useful, make sure you do drop that like and a subscribe. It really does help the channel out, and it lets us know to be able to do some more of the finals videos to be able to bring to you and keep them coming your way. But with all that said and done, let's get right into it. So let's kick it off with the light class. Now, the light class has access to the sawed-off shotgun, which trades in magazine capacity or sustain in firefights for boasting really high base damage. Now, what this means is when it comes to medium classes, you will be able to two-shot them. When it comes to light classes, you will be able to one-shot them. And then when it comes to heavy classes, unfortunately, we'll take 3 shots, which means that you're going to have to pop in a reload to be able to finish them off. Now, this is the only shotgun in the game, regardless of where you hit it in the body, that it can land a one-hit kill. And unfortunately, like I said, it is only on the light class, but it is fairly respectable in terms of like range. But just know that it's kind of unforgiving when it comes to missing any kind of shots. So if you do need to be able to pull in one of those reloads, your time to kill is going to drop massively. So if we have a quick look at the spread when it comes to this gun, so you know how to effectively use it, it already has a kind of wide spread in of itself, and there's definitely better ones when it comes to being able to stretch out the range, which we'll be getting into fairly shortly. When we look at the spread though, this is the spread that we're dealing with. And as you can see, it's kind of like a circle with a cross in the middle, so it's worthwhile being able to try and line up as many of these pellets onto a certain target as possible. And what's also interesting to note is that you can see how wide the crosshair is. If I just take the shot, you can see that it does not match up to the full hitbox, which means that we're going to be, you kind of need to be able to land as close to this center circle as much as possible to be able to maximize that. So it's not going to spread out all the way to the whole hip firebox or anything like that, but it is going to be fair. It's going to be centralized, but it's still going to be quite wide when it comes to trying to spread out all these shots. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to the shotguns, there is no way to be able to tighten up this spread, because as you can see, if we fire the one shot, aiming down sight gives you the exact same pellet spread. So there's, in terms of like wideness or anything like that, there's not going to be any change. Same with crouching. Crouching doesn't do anything. And also, if when it comes to sliding is just because I got a little bit closer there, it looks a little bit tighter. But if I was doing that, we're going to be the exact same. So regardless of movement or anything like that, it's just going to be the exact same. Now, it looks like jumping does spread it out a little bit, so what I will try is that. In fact, actually, it looks the exact same. So regardless of what the hitbox or the hip firebox is trying to tell you, you're just going to be always getting the same spread. So therefore, feel free to be able to move around and do whatever you need to be able to do with this gun to be able to get the effective use. Now, on the topic of, in terms of like handling when it comes to this gun, and like I said, this will affect your time to kill if you can't land both of your shots or just that one on a light class. You do need to be able to factor in a reload. Now, when it comes to reloads with this gun, if you fire from empty, it will automatically reload, and this will take you around about 2.4 seconds to be able to pop that in. Now, if you fire one shot and then you feel like you need to be able to pop a reload and you've got time for it, that will also take you 2.4 seconds, because regardless of how many shells are left in it, the animation is going to be the exact same, meaning that you're going to be ejecting both shells. Overall, the sawed-off shotgun is a decent option, but it's very unforgiving if you aren't able to land your shots, but it has a very consistent time to kill when it comes to being able to land it, and it's probably one of the more respectables, especially when we're dealing with the light and medium classes. Now, if we're moving on to the medium class, they have access to the repeater shotgun. Now, the repeater shotgun is definitely a more accurate one, as you can tell from the hip firebox. It already has a fairly respectable range, and it has some decent damage to be able to boot, and it allows it to be able to stretch out into a more of a medium range, rather than having to be purely close up like that with the light class. Now, it also has some decent magazine capacity, because we now have 6 shotgun shells to be able to be fired before we have to perform a full reload. And once again, it has a decent damage, but it's basically kind of like middle ground when it comes to between the light and the heavy classes shotgun. So what is it that the repeater can do? Well, in terms of like light classes, it can 2-shot them. When it comes to heavy classes, we're now talking 3. And when it comes to medium classes, we're also talking 2. So when it comes to time to kill for across light and medium classes, this is going to clock in at 706 milliseconds if you can land that 2-shot kill. And then when it comes to the heavy class, because we're now having to land an extra one, this is going to bump it up to around about 1.4 seconds as an effective time to kill. Fairly respectable. It's a decent shotgun, and it allows you to be able to, rather than be up close and personal like that, you can actually utilize some of your gadgetry, you can utilize some of your support stuff, you can utilize some of your other gear to be able to then start being able to pepper away from this kind of range. And once again, like I said, you can see that it has decent range. That was still a 2-shot clear kill on a light class. So once again, feel free to be able to stretch that out and be able to manage the firefights how you want to. So when it comes to spread, we're once again going to have a very consistent spread pattern. As you can see, once again, does not fill the hip firebox, but this is going to be basically all 4 corners and then kind of like a little diamond in the middle. And this is going to be the exact same, once again, whether we're crouching, whether we're aiming down sights, anything like that. There literally is no way to be able to tighten this up. And if you try and jump, it once again is the exact same, even though the hip firebox is telling you that it's moving. Unfortunately though, the reload is on a very slow side, depending on where you kind of like reload in your engagement. So if you go all the way to empty, this will take you around about 4.8 seconds from an empty reload to be able to get back up to full. But if you then start topping yourself off, and it takes a little while to get the first one in, and then after that, because you are doing 2 shells at a time with your reload, it's fairly quick to be able to get yourself back up. So I recommend not running to empty with this shotgun. I recommend trying to top it up whenever you can, and just being able to utilize some cover to be able to start popping yourself back in and out, and then just be able to top yourself back up ready for that next engagement. And so lastly, we have the heavy shotgun, and this is going to be the SA1216. Now this is technically an automatic shotgun because you can hold down the trigger and you can fire all 4 shots. Now this has a massive magazine capacity at 16, and once you fire 4 shots, you'll see that you have to rotate the magazine round to be able to fire the next 4. So this has a little bit of an effect on time to kill or sustained fire when you're in that firefight, but because it's magazine fed, it's fairly easy to be able to start clocking that back in and being able to top yourself up ready for the next engagement. The heavy shotgun, the SA1216, is the best for prolonged engagements, especially when you're taking on a whole team of 3, so feel free to be able to use this and just spam it away down a corridor or at certain people, or just being able to get some chip damage in ready for the rest of your team to come in and mop up. In terms of damage profile, this is a fairly respectable damage profile, especially for probably what's kind of got the highest magazine capacity, but should technically have the lowest damage. On a heavy target, this will take 4 shots to be able to kill, so basically before you need to be able to move your rechamber. When it comes to a light class, this will take 2, and when it comes to a medium class, this will take 3. So in one magazine, you have more than enough to be able to take on basically a whole team of heavies if you needed to. So I do recommend that the SA1216 is a really good shotgun, and I highly recommend that you do go and try and get one once you get yourself leveled up and being able to give it a go. Now in terms of spread, once again, this is consistent. It is kind of a little bit, it is wider than the repeater, so therefore you do need to be able to keep that in mind, but it is basically almost like a figure of 8 or an infinity symbol on its side, whichever you prefer, so it's always consistent with that. The only thing you do need to factor in with this shotgun though is going to be recoil, because it does have a full auto property, so it will start jumping here, there and everywhere to be able to struggle to be able to keep it on target, so feel free to just keep that in mind. But once again, this is great for spamming down corridors, this is great for chip damage, and it's just great for, especially on light classes, there's not much they can do about this one. It's just going to be hit scan, instant damage, and it's going to chunk them away. So after a few shots, you're just going to be absolutely melting light classes. So when it comes to looking at TTKs, the repeater is the slowest out of the 3, and then the sawed-off shotgun and the SA1216 are fairly consistent in terms of their damage. Now, if we are looking at pure like heavy playstyle TTKs to be able to take down both, the sawed-off shotgun clocks in at 600 milliseconds bang on, and the SA1216 comes in at 610, so it's pretty much a negligible difference between the two. The only real difference we got between those two weapons is going to be the sawed-off shotgun taking on light and medium classes, doing both more efficiently than what the SA1216 can offer, as the sawed-off shotgun can instant delete light classes if it's able to get a meat shot, which is basically going to be an instant time to kill. There's literally 0 milliseconds because we don't have to wait for a follow-up. And then when it comes to mediums, we're looking at 300 milliseconds compared to the SA1216's 406. That being said though, I do think the SA1216 is just miles above every other shotgun because it has the better DPS, it has the best TTKs across the board. If we take into consideration the sawed-off shotgun needing to be able to pop in a reload to be able to take down a heavy class. On top of that, it is a bit more new player friendly just due to the fact that it is full auto, it has the capability, it has the magazine capacity for 16 shots before it needs to be reloaded, and it just is able to mow through a whole team if it gets close enough to be able to deal with it. The only downside is the fact that it is a shotgun on a heavy class, which the heavy class is notorious for not being able to get in close for most engagements, just due to the fact of how slow it is and being able to, none of its gadgets or gear, it kind of tends to be able to give it any kind of like mobility option, so it does rely on its team composition to be able to get in close, to be able to maximise the amount of damage the SA1216 can pull off. But there you go, that is the full guide when it comes to shotguns in the game of the finals, at least in the closed beta anyway. If this does change, then at least we've got a reference ready for the full release. But let me know in the comment section down below, what is your favourite shotgun? Have you been using the shotguns in the finals? And let me know what kind of success you've been achieving with it. Massive thank you for making your way to the end of the video. Massive thank you to the Babylonian family, as always, for their continued support. It really does help the channel out, and their names appear at the end of every single one of our videos. But with all that said and done, make sure you drop a like and a subscribe. Keep yourself safe, keep yourselves well, and I'll see you all on our next video.